Happy July, travelers. It is officially the season of fireworks, road trips, theme park days, sunburns, overpriced lemonade, and standing in line for a roller coaster and questioning every life choice that you've ever made leading up to this point. Because this is Death Kiss Traveler, you know we can't just talk about summer fun without finding the ghosts hiding behind the gates. July is peak amusement park season. The rides are running, the midways are packed, the music is playing, and everything feels bright and loud and alive, doesn't it? But what happens after the fireworks fade? What happens when the gates close, the crowds disappear, and the only sound left is a ride creaking in the dark? Today we are counting down 10 of the most haunted theme parks in America. From rusted rides in the woods to ghost towns, lakeside legends, Disney hauntings, and parks where the real history is scarier than the ghost stories. So grab your park bag, your iced coffee, and maybe someone's hand, because this summer road trip is taking a dark turn. My name is Marissa, your morbidly curious host, and this is Death Kiss Traveler, the only podcast that dives deep into the dark history, horror, and hauntings of amusement parks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow me on TikTok or Instagram at Death Kiss Traveler Podcast. You're going to want to see the pictures this week. Now, let's start with what might be the most famously haunted amusement park in America. Lake Shawnee Abandoned Amusement Park in West Virginia. And this one does not feel like your normal, the ride is old, so maybe it's haunted kind of ride. Lake Shawnee feels cursed from the ground up. Before there were rusted swings, old ticket booths, or children laughing on rides, this land already had a very dark history. The area is said to have been tied to native burial grounds, early violence, and bloodshed dating all the way back to the 1700s. So by the time an amusement park was eventually built there, the land already carried stories that felt heavy. Then the park came, and Lake Shawnee opened as a small amusement park where families came to picnic, swim, ride the swings, and spend summer days together. It should have been innocent. It should have been bright, but over time, tragedy became part of the park's story. Several children did die at the park, including one of the most talked about stories where there was a little girl on a swing and a truck backed into her. Another child is said to have drowned in the lake and another in the pool. And once you know these stories, the images of the park today feel even more unsettling because some of the rides are still there. The swings are rusted, the old structures sit quietly in the grass. The lake is still nearby, and instead of music, crowds, and summer noise, there's just wind moving through the trees and metal creaking through the silence. Today, Lake Shawnee is known for ghost tours, paranormal investigations, and its very eerie abandoned rides. People visit not because the park is alive, but because they want to feel something that's never fully left. Guests and investigators have reported strange sounds, unexplained voices, shadowy figures, and the feeling of being watched. Some say the energy around the old rides feel really heavy, almost like the park is frozen in time. At that exact same moment, childhood turned into tragedy. And that's what makes Lake Shawnee so disturbing. It's not just an abandoned amusement park. It's a place where the idea of childhood innocence and death sit right next to each other. A place where rusted rides stand in the woods like memorials, and a place where the laughter is gone, but the stories remain. So when people talk about haunted amusement parks in America, Lake Shawnee is almost always at the top of the list. It is going to be at the top of our list today because some parks close and they disappear, but Lake Shawnee feels like it stayed behind. Next on our list is Sylvan Beach Amusement Park in New York. And this one has a different kind of haunted feeling. Lake Shawnee feels abandoned and cursed. Sylvan Beach feels like the park is still alive during the day, but after dark, something else wakes up. Sylvan Beach sits on the eastern shore of the Oneida Lake, and it has that old school lakeside amusement park energy, the kind of place with vintage rides, carnival lights, summer crowds, fried food, and generations of families coming back year after year. But when the guests leave, the music shuts off, the midway goes quiet, and the stories change. Sylvan Beach has become known for its after-dark ghost tours and paranormal investigations. People don't just whisper that it's haunted. The park actually leans in towards the legends. Guests can walk through the park after closing, explore areas that are usually locked up, and hear the stories of spirits that are said to still linger there. And honestly, that's what makes this place so creepy, because during the day it's colorful and nostalgic, but at night, those same rides take on a completely different feeling. The lights feel dimmer, the buildings feel older, the empty midway feels like it's waiting for someone who never went home. Some of the ghost stories connected to Sylvan Beach involved unexplained noises, shadowy figures, strange footsteps, and the feeling of being watched in buildings that should be empty. There are stories of spirits tied to the park's long history, people who may have loved this place so much or lost something there so deeply that they never fully left. And with a park this old, that idea, it's not hard to believe. Think about how many summers have passed through Sylvan Beach, how many first dates, family trips, how many childhood memories, and then accidents and heartbreaks all happened there. Amusement parks, they collect energy. They are built out of emotion, excitement, fear, grief, and nostalgia. And sometimes when the lights go out, it feels like all of those memories are still walking around. And that's the charm of Sylvan Beach. Now we have to talk about the one and only Disneyland. The Disneyland Park in California, the happiest place on earth. I was just there. I love Disneyland. The castle, the food, the fireworks, the music playing through hidden speakers, the perfect flower beds and the smiling cast members, the families taking pictures on Main Street like nothing bad could ever happen. But that's exactly what makes Disneyland stories so interesting. Because Disneyland, it's not supposed to feel haunted. It is supposed to feel controlled, clean, magical, like every detail has been designed to keep the real world on the outside of the gates. But the truth is, real life has still found its way in. Over the decades, Disneyland has had its share of tragedy, accidents, deaths, stories that do not fit neatly into the fantasy. And because the park is so beloved, those stories tend to turn into legends. One of the most famous is connected to the Matterhorn. In 1984, Dolly Reagan Young died after she was thrown from a Matterhorn bobsled and struck by another ride vehicle. Today, some people refer to the area where it happened as Dolly's Dip, and whether you believe in ghost stories or not, that name alone is kind of creepy, and it changes how you look at the ride. Because for most guests, the Matterhorn is a classic Disney mountain. It's icy caves and growling yeti, and the turns that's fast and nostalgic, and the screams echo through the track. But for others, it's also the place where something very terrible happened. And that's where the hauntings begin. Disneyland has ghost lore everywhere. If you know where to look, there are stories of strange figures near the Matterhorn, whispers around the old People Mover track, and cast members who swear they have heard or seen things after closing that they cannot explain. And a couple weeks ago, we did talk about the People Mover because it has its own dark history. It was futuristic, slow-moving, and very peaceful, the kind of ride that feels harmless. But even that attraction became tied to death 2 times. And also, Disneyland is the #1 spot for people to dump their loved ones' ashes. I don't recommend it. I confirmed it with a cast member. You do get vacuumed up if your ashes are spread at Disneyland. The park doesn't look haunted, at least not in the daytime. It doesn't have resting rides in the woods like Lake Shawnee, or it doesn't feel like an abandoned carnival. But Disneyland, it's the opposite. It's bright, it's busy, it's polished, and every now and then you hear a story But I think that's what makes it even creepier, because imagine being there after closing. There's no crowds, no stroller traffic, no screaming kids, just empty walkways. The music still plays softly, lights glow on Main Street, and cast members cleaning up the place that millions of people only ever see when it's alive. That's when Disneyland becomes something else, a place full of underground tunnels, backstage hallways, empty ride vehicles, and animatronics that keep staring when nobody's watching. And maybe that's why the ghost stories stick, because Disneyland is built on imagination. It asks you to believe in things you cannot see. Magic, wishes, memories, childhood. So maybe it's not such a leap for people to believe that some guests, some cast members, and some tragedies never fully left. Number 4 takes us to Kings Island in Ohio. And if Disneyland has ghost stories hidden behind the magic, Kings Island has ghost stories that feel like they are standing right outside in the Midway. The park has some of the most famous amusement park legends in the country, the kind of stories that sound like they were made for late-night ride operators, empty queue lines, and security guards walking the park after closing. One of the best-known legends is Tower Johnny, and the story is tied to the park's Eiffel Tower, one of Kings Island's most recognizable landmarks. According to the legend, a young man died near the tower, and ever since then, people have claimed to see or feel something strange in that area of the park. Some say Tower Johnny appears as a shadowy figure. Others say he makes himself known through odd noises, uneasy feelings, or things that seem to move when nobody's there. And whether every detail of the legend is true or exaggerated, over time, that is how amusement park ghost stories survive. They get passed from one employee to another, from one generation of summer workers to the next. But Tower Johnny is not the only spirit connected to Kings Island. There's also the legend of the girl in the blue dress. She's often described as a little girl that is seen wandering the park, sometimes near older areas or places connected to the land before Kings Island was built. In some versions of the story, she is tied to an old cemetery. In others, she's simply seen and then suddenly gone. And that image is what makes her so unsettling. A little girl in a blue dress, alone in a theme park, not screaming, not crying, just there, and then gone. Kings Island also has a strange feeling because of how much history sits underneath the fun. Like a lot of amusement parks, the land has changed over time. Before there were roller coasters and water rides and a family vacation spot, there were fields, homes, and cemeteries. And people whose stories did not just disappear because a theme park was built over the area. That's where the haunted reputation starts to grow. Because amusement parks are already strange at night. During the day, they're loud and colorful, but after closing, everything changes. For Kings Island, the ghost stories seem to live in that beloved space in between fact and folklore, tragedy and rumor, between the guests who leave at closing and whatever still might be walking the park after dark. Maybe Tower Johnny is just a legend. Maybe the girl in a blue dress is the story that got bigger over time. But when a park has that many people telling the same kinds of stories, year after year, it becomes part of the place. And at Kings Island, the thrills do not end when the rides shut down, because according to the legends, some guests have never left. Number 5 takes us to Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. And this one is different from the others because some haunted amusement parks are built on rumors and legends. Some come from strange shadows after closing, creepy employee stories, or guests who swear they saw something move that shouldn't have been there. But Six Flags Great Adventure has a story that does not need folklore to be terrifying. In 1984, the park was home to an attraction called the Haunted Castle. You know it's already going to be good. It was supposed to be the scary in a fun way. A walk-through haunted house filled with dark hallways, spooky scenes, jump scares, and screaming teenagers trying to laugh their way through the fear. I did do an entire episode on this ride, and I do suggest that you go and listen to it. The story is heartbreaking. Because on May 11th, 1984, the fake horror became real when a fire broke out inside of the Haunted Castle attraction. The building was a dark, maze-like building, and it was filled with materials that allowed the fire and smoke to spread quickly. The guests inside, they had trouble finding their way out, and by the time the nightmare was over, 8 teenagers had died. 8 kids who had gone to an amusement park for fun. 8 kids who walked into a haunted attraction expecting pretend fear, and they never came back out. That's why Six Flags Great Adventure belongs on this list, not because one famous ghost story or one named spirit, but because of the real-life tragedy that is attached to this park, and it still lingers in amusement park history. The Haunted Castle, it was destroyed and removed, but the memory of what happened there, it didn't disappear with the building. And that is one thing about amusement parks. They're designed to make us forget danger. They're designed to make us feel safe. And when a roller coaster drops you, the restraint holds. A haunted house scares you, but there's always an exit. And the monsters that jump out at you and scream. But the Haunted Castle, the fear became real. The smoke was real. The panic was real. The fire and the loss was real. And once you know that, it kind of changes the way you think about haunted attractions forever. Over the years, the Haunted Castle fire has become one of the stories that people still talk about when they discuss theme park safety. Haunted attractions, amusement park disasters, all of that, it's a reminder that sometimes the scariest stories are not the ones about ghosts. Sometimes they're the ones that actually happened. And maybe that's why this story feels haunted even without needing proof of the spirits. Because the attraction's gone, but the tragedy is still there. It's in the history, it's in the warnings, and in the memory of 8 teenagers who entered a fake haunted castle and became a part of a real one. So Six Flags earns its place on our list because it was one of the most darkest amusement park accidents. Number 6 takes us to Knott's Berry Farm in California, and this one is interesting because Knott's doesn't just have ghost stories. It has an entire ghost town. During the day, Ghost Town at Knott's Berry Farm feels like this old West classic fun. There's wooden storefronts, dusty streets, a jail, a saloon, even a blacksmith shop. And all these old buildings have actors in costumes, and families are walking around with funnel cakes and boysenberry treats. Love it. I love Knott's Berry Farm. It feels very themed, it feels charming and safe. But then you learn that parts of the ghost town were not just built to look old. Some pieces were actually brought in from real historical locations. And this is not the only theme park that has done this. Lagoon Amusement Park in Farmington, Utah has also done the same thing and reported hauntings. So these old buildings, old materials, old objects, all these pieces of the past are placed inside amusement parks and they're turned into entertainment. And that's where the haunting feeling really starts to begin. Because when you move something old, do you move only the wood, the doors, the windows, and the furniture, or do you bring a little bit of the history with it? Knott's Berry Farm has had rumors and stories connected to the ghost town. People have claimed to hear strange sounds, seen shadowy movement, or feel like certain buildings have a presence inside them. Some stories mention unexplained footsteps, voices, or that heavy feeling you get when a room does not feel empty, even though you're the only one standing in it. And honestly, a ghost town is the perfect setting for these stories because it already looks haunted. Even before anyone tells you a legend, the place feels like a movie set where the actors, they left too quickly. The old jail cell, wooden sidewalks, dim corners, storefronts, all of it is fun during the day, but at night, it becomes something else. The same buildings that felt cute and nostalgic under California's sun start to feel quieter, stranger, like maybe the park did not create a haunted ghost town, maybe it accidentally collected one. And that's what makes Knott's such a great entry on this list. It blurs the line between theme park fantasy and actual history. It's not abandoned Lake Shawnee. It's not centered around a tragedy. It's more haunted in a subtle way. A place built for pretend ghosts using pieces of the very real past. And maybe that's why these stories have lasted, because the ghost town at Knott's Berry Farm feels like the kind of place where something could linger, not necessarily something evil or dramatic, just old energy, old memories, old lives attached to old wood. A saloon where the music stopped, a jail cell that still feels occupied, a street where footsteps might continue long after the guests have gone home. So while Knott's Berry Farm is known for roller coasters, family fun, and boysenberry everything, its ghost town gives the park a darker layer. Number 7 on our list takes us to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And Cedar Point has a very different kind of haunted energy. This is not an abandoned park hidden in the woods. It's not a ghost town built out of old Western buildings. This is one of the most famous amusement parks in America. The roller coaster capital of the world. It's sitting right out on a narrow peninsula surrounded by Lake Erie. During the day, Cedar Point, it's loud and bright and full of adrenaline. Coasters roar overhead, trains climb up lift hills, guests scream over the water. The whole place, it feels alive with speed, noise, and summer. But of course, you guessed it, at night, the lake around it and the old buildings stand quiet. And Cedar Point starts to feel something much older and darker. Because Cedar Point has been around for a long time. Long before it became known for its record-breaking roller coasters, it was just a lakeside resort. People came by boat, they stayed in hotels, they danced, they swam, and they vacationed. They fell in love there, and they made memories on the shore. In a place that has that much history, the ghost stories almost feel inevitable. One of the most common haunted legends connected to Cedar Point involves hotel breakers, the historic hotel on the property. Guests and employees have told stories over the years about strange noises, unexplained footsteps, doors opening or closing, and the feeling that somebody is nearby when nobody should be there. And honestly, a haunted hotel inside an amusement park, it's already the perfect setup. Because imagine the park after closing. The coasters are still, the midway is empty, the lake wind moves through the buildings, and somewhere inside the hotel, footsteps echo down a hallway that should be quiet. There are also ghost stories tied to old rides and carousel music. That classic amusement park sound that feels sweet during the day but completely different when you hear it at dark. A carousel is already a little unsettling when it's empty. Those painted horses, the mirrors, the lights, the music. It's all a horror story wrapped up into a ride, don't you think? But at Cedar Point, that older amusement park feeling is still there underneath all of the modern thrills. That's what makes these hauntings feel believable. Not because there is one single ghost everyone agrees on, but because the park itself feels layered. A modern thrill park built on top of a resort town, a place where generations of guests came and went, a place where summer memories, lake storms, old hotels, and empty rides, they all blur together. I feel like I need to do a full deep dive on Cedar Point. I think there's so much more to this story, and I need to get to the bottom of it. And Cedar Point belongs on our list because after the close, after the screams fade into the lake, you can almost imagine the old park running somewhere beneath the new one. Number 8 takes us to Lake Compounce in Connecticut, and this park has something most haunted places would kill for: time. Lake Compounce is known as the oldest continuously operating amusement park in America, opening all the way back to 1846. So before Disneyland and roller coasters, people were gathering at Lake Compounce. They came for the lake. They came for picnics. They came for music and dancing and swimming summer nights. and eventually rides. And when a place that has been collecting human emotion for that long, it starts to feel like it's more than just an amusement park. It feels like a memory bank. Almost 2 centuries of families, first dates, childhood summers, heartbreaks, accidents, celebrations, and final visits have passed through this place. Generations of people have walked the same grounds, looked at the same lake, and heard the same sounds of laughter and music and screams. That is what makes lake compounds so haunting. It's not necessarily one of the big famous ghost stories. It's just the weight of time, because old amusement parks are strange. They're built for joy, but they hold on to everything else. Every summer that ended, every person who came back year after year, every child who grew up and returned with their own kids, every memory that became old enough to feel like a ghost. And at lake compounds, that feeling, it's everywhere. The lake itself gives the park a quiet, eerie beauty. And at night, the water has a way of changing the place. It reflects the light, it swallows the sound, it makes the edges of the park feel softer, darker, and maybe a little more uncertain. When you walk through a place that has been entertaining people since the mid-1800s, it's hard not to wonder what is still lingering there. We're not just talking of spirits, but maybe old energy, old conversations, old music, old footsteps, the feeling that the past is not gone. It's just layered underneath the present. Lake Compounds feels haunted in a nostalgic way, not a cursed abandoned theme park or a tragedy frozen in time, but a place where ghosts might not even know they're ghosts. Maybe they're still walking towards the lake or a ride, waiting for the music to start. Still looking for the people they came with on a summer night 100 years ago. So while Lake Compounds may not be the loudest haunting on this list, it might be one of the deepest. Number 9 takes us to the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk in California, and this one has a completely different kind of haunting, because seaside amusement parks already feel a little ghostly. There is something about the ocean, the fog, the old lights, and the sound of waves under the screams from the rides. And that feeling, that whole boardwalk exists between two worlds, land and water, past and present, summer fun, and something darker. The Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk has been entertaining guests for generations. It's colorful, loud, sunny, and nostalgic. You have the smell of salt air, popcorn, fried food, sunscreen, ocean water, all mixed together while the rides spin above the sand. But once that sun goes down, again, that atmosphere changes. What is it about after dark? The ocean gets louder, the shadows stretch across the boardwalk, the lights reflect off the water, and suddenly that same cheerful place starts to feel like it's holding on to something else. Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk has plenty of ghost lore, and the boardwalk fits perfectly into that haunted coastal energy. I did do a whole deep dive on this park. Go and listen to it after this. It is a really good episode. People talk about strange feelings around the older parts of the park, eerie stories connected to the Giant Dipper, and the kind of ghostly seaside legends that seem to follow old boardwalks everywhere. And honestly, it makes sense. A boardwalk is not just an amusement park. So many people had their very first roller coaster ride at this park. They've taken photos and eaten ice cream, walked along the ocean, and built memories around that larger-than-life feeling. But the ocean has a dark side. It keeps secrets and it swallows sound. It pulls things away and brings other things back. That's what makes the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk haunted in a different way. Not like the others, and it kind of feels like a place where the past just rides right alongside of you. Okay, and number 10, well, it takes us to Action Park in New Jersey. And yes, this one is different, because Action Park is not usually remembered as haunted in the traditional way. They're not endless ghost stories or little girls in the shadows or spirits walking the midway. Action Park is haunted by its reputation. And honestly, is that scarier? This park opened in the late 1970s and became infamous for rides that were wild, dangerous, and unbelievable. It was the kind of place where rules were loose, the injuries were common, and the stories surrounding them sounded like urban legends, except for many of them weren't. People called it Traction Park, Class Action Park, and once you learn about it, you'll understand why. Action Park had water slides, alpine slides, wave pools, go-karts, cliff jumping, and attractions that seemed to be built on one question. How much danger can we pass off as fun? You guys, there was a looping water slide. A ride so ridiculous it looked like something a child would draw, and an adult should have immediately said no. There was a wave pool nicknamed the Grave Pool because so many guests drowned in the rough water. There were concrete channels, fast slides, hard landings, and rides where people walked away bruised, bleeding, or didn't walk away at all. Many people did die at Action Park, and countless others left with injuries that became a part of the park's dark mythology. And here's what makes Action Park so unsettling. People still talk about it with a strange kind of nostalgia. Like it was dangerous, yes, but it was also legendary. Like surviving Action Park is a badge of honor. Like the park was less family attraction and more of a test run of whether you could make it through the day in one piece. And that's where the hauntings come in, because Action Park is haunted by every scream that was not just a thrill, every laugh that came right before someone got hurt, every guest who thought they were stepping into summer fun and instead became part of the most infamous amusement park stories in America. Most haunted parks have tragedy. Action Park, well, it had a pattern. It became known for chaos and risk and danger dressed up as freedom. It was a place where kids and teenagers and young adults were allowed to do things that would make most modern safety inspectors pass out. And today, even though the original Action Park is gone, the legend is still very much alive. People tell the stories like campfire tales. There was a looping slide, this wave pool that people couldn't get out of. The alpine slides, well, they would burn you as you would go down. There was so many broken bones and dozens of lawsuits. The fact that this place somehow existed, I don't know. Action Park earns its spot on our list because it shows us another kind of haunting. Not a ghost in the window, not a shadow at the end of the ride platform, but the kind of haunting that comes from a place being so infamous for harm. So as we close out this list of haunted amusement parks, Action Park leaves us with one final thought. Sometimes a park does not need ghosts to feel haunted. Sometimes the memories are enough. Sometimes the stories are enough. And sometimes the most terrifying ride is the one people cannot believe was ever built or even allowed to open. So whether you believe the parks are truly haunted, or you think the stories are just legends passed from guest to guest, there's something undeniably eerie about amusement parks after dark. During the day, they're built for laughter and cotton candy, roller coasters, childhood memories. But at night, when the gates close and the crowds disappear, those same places become something else. The rides, well, they sit still. The midway goes quiet. The music, it's gone or soft. And suddenly, all of that joy has a shadow. From the rusted rides of Lake Shawnee to the ghost stories of Disneyland to the real-life nightmare of the haunted castle, these parks remind us that amusement parks are not just places for fun. They are places that hold memories. They hold tragedies. They hold legends. And maybe sometimes they hold on to the people who never fully left. Because every park has two sides. The one we see in the daylight and the one that waits after closing. So the next time you walk through an amusement park at night, when the lights are glowing, the coaster tracks disappear into the dark, and the midway starts to empty out, listen closely, because that creak behind you might be an old ride settling. That voice in the distance might just be another guest. The shadow near the tracks might just be your imagination. Or maybe some parks never really close. If you loved this creepy little summer road trip, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't have to miss where we go next. And if you have ever worked at a theme park, visited a haunted attraction, or had something weird happen on vacation, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment, send me your story, or come find me on social. You can visit my website at Death Kiss Traveler Podcast, or follow me on Death Kiss Traveler Podcast on TikTok or Instagram for more haunted stories, creepy travel stories, amusement park legends, and all of the spooky places hiding behind the fun. And if this episode gave you the chills, made you laugh, or made you never want to go to a theme park after closing, leave a 5-star review. It really helps more travelers like you find the show. Until next time, keep your park bag packed, your iced coffee iced, and maybe do not be the last one on the Midway after dark. I'll see you next week, my spooky travelers. This episode is written and recorded by me, Marissa. It's brought to you by Sunkissed Traveler Travel Agency. Whether you are planning a theme park vacation, a family getaway, a cruise, a romantic escape, a spooky little adventure of your own, working with a travel advisor can make the process so much easier. From finding the right resort to helping with park tickets, cruises, hotels, dining, and all of the little details you do not want to stress over, a travel advisor helps turn the trip into an actual vacation. So if this episode has you dreaming about your next getaway, haunted or not, check the show notes or visit sun-kissedtraveler.com.